for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness by Barrett Kunyan. At Bioactivator, we are driven by a profound commitment to assist humanity in connecting with its deepest purpose. Our mission is to catalyze a transformative journey towards a self-realization and collective guardianship, harnessing the potent force of cosmic energy, our organic Wi-Fi. Through Bioactivator's innovative approach, we aim to awaken a new paradigm of planetary independence, where individuals and societies flourish in harmony with universal laws. Our ethos, deeply rooted in the principles of do no harm and respecting the freedom of others, guides our every endeavor. We envision a future where an open source galactic society thrives, embodying these values in every aspect of life. Join us in this evolutionary journey as we unlock the potential of humanity and pave the way for a harmonious, natural law-based galactic community. Become a part of this movement towards a universally connected and conscious world. Your journey with Bioactivator starts now.
It sure does, and we have a beautiful soul brother in our studio by the name, he doesn't need any introduction, but that's Lee Mudway. Brother, it's an honor to have you back. So if I may, just before I hand the mic over, let's go look at the title of our conversation today. It's Beyond Negativity, a dialogue on virtue, morality, and the new age. Now, brother, you posted over 4 days ago, I think between 4 and 5 days ago, on your social media page, Facebook, and it really triggered me in an extremely positive way, as always. You put this powerful statement: "We are now in a new reality. Negativity has no place here. Higher virtue and morality are the key to the gates of our purgatory." Lee Mudway, welcome. I've got a few questions towards that at a later stage, but you know, I'm so excited about the conversation we're about to have on this subject.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Absolute pleasure to be here with your wonderful energy again, my friend. I'm looking, yes. Cheers. Cheers for the tea. I'm looking forward to what we uncover or discuss and where we go.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of looked at your statement, and I just put together some questions. I'll repeat the questions. I mean, it's not ones that you know, there is, well, there may be a right or wrong answer, but there is certainly a universal aspect to it. But here's one of the questions, if I may put to you, is based on that statement that you made. What practical steps can individuals take to align their actions and thoughts with higher virtue and morality in this new context? Reference to that we are now in this new reality. Negativity has no place here. Higher virtue and morality are the key to the gates, or out, shall we say, of this purgatory that we've been in. So what practical steps can individuals take to align their actions?
We've just been looking at the chart offline. Maybe we'll bring that back up. But practical steps, let's have a little look at what it is that we're talking to a little bit here. And what we're talking to here is frequency, relatively, bandwidths and realms of existence or experience. Now, currently, or previously, for different reasons, and for 4 reasons. This experience was in a 3rd dimensional aspect, which generally is quarantine and hell. It's distorted, it's dark, it had its issues, it had its intricacies and its things. Now, divinely, this has been, is being and has been energetically amended, and we are currently in the rise out of hell, or this experience is anyway. So some are already there, some aren't. And this is a state of being. This is an individual state of being, i.e. the frequency one holds. So in the vast, I'm not talking about things that are imposed upon you physically, but all suffering is self-made, it's self-generated, it's a state of belief. Not stuff that's imposed upon you that, outside of these things. And there is other areas inside of this that allows for some other conceptual value. But really, it's the experience that we create for ourselves by our own thinking, our own belief systems. And those generated inside our own fields are what we experience as co-creators in this reality, or what was experienced by ones as co-creators in this reality. And what we're doing currently is rising the frequency divinely. This plane will become heaven on earth again, and more, which involves the release of hell, and it revolves the release of the old energies, which are still being played out, the old negativities, the old distorted harmonics, which are still being played out in ripples through the collective experience. This ceases to exist at a certain time. Now, I'm not going to state when that time is. What I'm stating in the post in collaboration with others is that we are in a new reality. The new reality is here and accessible. Now, that doesn't mean to say that everybody is in it. There is also a functional release of the existing frequencies, the distortions and the disharmonics, which are ongoing inside belief systems and inside each collective. As a collective, the collective is experiencing a dark night of the soul, a release of that which is non-virtuous or less than virtuous. So negativity would be seen as that which causes harm, or that which is less than virtuous. Now, the only, one of the other keys with this is higher morality and higher virtue, is to understand what is the higher virtues. Inside the old systems, inside the old indoctrination, inside the old belief systems, and many, many of them, in fact, most, if not all of them, contain limitation, is an area you can't question. An area of it that sort of, this is where you are, this is what you are within. Now, you can question everything inside of it, but you can never question the outside. So let's say the capitalistic system and money. If you believe that that is necessary and that is always what it's going to be, and that is always there, and it just is, then you're never going to question the use of it. Now, what you can do then is act with your best of your ability within that structure, trying to import morality and virtue into your day-to-day actions. But what you are actually doing then is dismissing all of the damage it's causing everybody else. So it's very much a survival mode, and you're not allowed to question it. You can only question what's going on inside it. So there's where your morality sits. You can never use a higher virtue, because if you did, you couldn't condone the system. So you have to step out. You have to look from outside in rather than inside out. And this is breaking that bubble. So we were just talking a bit ago about protesting, and protest literally means for examination or protest. And each must protest their own belief systems. Each must go through a release of their own belief systems and question them fundamentally. Is this belief system mine? Is it something that I'm using because I'm in survival? Does it benefit anybody else? Does it cause harm to anybody else? If I take this, does somebody else lose something? Is this equal? Is this fair? Is this what I would wish to create if I was God? And one very prevalent and prudent and prescient thing to think about: if you are a divine creator, what is it that you are creating? A very key question to protest. And this allows you then to look at your actions differently. See, actions come from a creation. Now, the creation is emotional generally. It goes into the consciousness and creates a picture which you paint and then believe and act upon. So the action shows what it is that you're doing. What are your actions? Why are your actions? Why are you doing this? What's going on? And this becomes a very meticulous process of release, protest. And where we're going, none of these negativities, none of these complacencies, this compliance with that which causes harm, none of these are acceptable. As you would not accept them within your family, liars, cheats, and all of the other things that are ongoing, abusers, narcissists, murderers, blah, blah, blah. All of these things would not be acceptable in your environment, but because you can't see them, it's okay. No, it's not. And it's ongoing because of the system that we're in. So higher virtue is more collective and more individual. They sort of expand to each other. As you embody it, collectively it's embodied. So this is co-creation at its purest, as each releases their negativity, their distortion, their limitations. It enables the larger picture to move that way too. Now, I've rambled a little bit, brother, and I'm not sure where that went, but it seemed to me it was divinely that's what was said. So that's where we are for now.
Yeah. I mean, some people listening to this, they may feel, I'm not saying, because everyone's different levels, a good starting point as far as, practices that could be established to ensure that this transition into this new reality is inclusive and accessible to all, regardless of their starting point. But if I can just throw in my own energetic feel to this, that's what it's about. Being present or at all cost, because what are you feeling in terms of because most people don't trust the system, which is fine. I'm not saying but when you don't trust the system, what's the next best thing that someone can do? Do you throw stones at it? Do you stone? No.
A few years ago, I didn't trust the system. Now, it wasn't that I didn't trust the system. I didn't trust myself, and that extrapolated into the system. So I had no trust, and therefore I couldn't trust anybody else, and everything outside of me proved me right. This isn't about not trusting the system. This is about mistrust of everything. And that's a general representation of the frequency of shame, internal shame. The vast majority of people on this planet are carrying a very deep, heavy frequency of shame. And that's an individual one which has not yet been rectified, reconciled, and harmonized, neutralized, made neutral within each individual, because they don't want to see their own shame. Generally, shame is something you run away from and you hide from. It's not something you wish to accept, but yet it's there. It's the deceiver. So from these darker levels of vibration, from these shame energetics, which are nothing to do with you, they were something you couldn't do anything about. They were generated nefariously by the dark ones here in the energetics that we were surrounded in. Nobody gave them to you apart from it's just the frequency that we were in. So everybody wore those energies that had the light. The souls wore those energies, and it's love, really. It's the release of it's the realization that all of your actions throughout all of your lives were based on hiding from your own shame and mistrust of everything else outside of you whilst in survival mode. I'm not speaking to this as an observational point of view of others. I'm speaking to this as this is what I experienced, very, very, very fundamentally, divinely so, and looked into to a depth which was, I didn't realize, a divine education on this, to be able to speak to it without any fear now. So these levels don't hold any humiliation and shame. I've lived there for a long, long time, or lived there, and they hold no fear. But for others that haven't visited them yet, they do. So these layers of density are the anchors of what's holding people in purgatory or hell. And the higher morality is to question that and to be kind to yourself and to release these notions. But do it, you've got to do it honestly, truthfully. This can't be done by blaming another. So, of course, the dark ones put up many areas that the human can blame. As soon as you put your finger out and blame another for the way you are creating a negative reality. It's false. You are the way you are because of what you're thinking. not what they've told you to think. So it's the belief in the system that's causing the suffering. It's not the system itself. Once that belief in the system is changed, is released, and belief is put back individually, internally. See, if you're holding a lot of shame within, then you can't believe in yourself, because this will always hide. And really what comes out of your mouth manipulates reality to keep you in comfort, a place of complacency, a place where that shame you can exist with it, which is the original design of the ego, to protect in survival mode. And the ego does exactly that. It protects you from that shame and that fear by hiding it. But that means everything outside of you has to be in control. You have to make sure everything outside of you never triggers you. And that's where the ego creates false story, false witness, and false evidence. So with this shame level that's within, it must be seen. And what we're seeing right now is a shaking up of this. So these false projections, the ego trying to hide and maintain the survival mode, are not being accepted. Divinely so. They can't be. They must be released. So shame is released from each. When the shame is released, what it's replaced with is value. It's replaced with worthiness. It's replaced with hope. And all of these things are what's missing. So this is why there's so many valueless, hopeless, worthless mentalities and ideologies that are going on outside. So much fear, so much scarcity, so much lack, so much intolerance, so much non-acceptance, so much division. These are all extrapolations of the inner. So what we're missing on the inside, or what humans are missing from the inside at the moment, is their own worth, their own value. And that extrapolates to an outside system of chaos. This is what we're seeing is harmonizing. So in the release of that inner angst, this is what you're talking to. What can be done practically? Understanding this, recognizing it, recognition, changing the way your conscious state is, not accepting limitation in your concept. Now, I'm not saying you've got to go out there and say, I want everything now. No, I'm saying is in your belief systems, in your concepts, let go of that which limits you. Let go of that which tells you you are small, fragile, weak, hopeless, lacking. In whatever way you can, don't believe it. Stop believing it. And this is an active process of you. The thoughts come in, the thoughts overrun. Whoa, no. And it's garnering consciousness. Your mental plane is being strengthened. Now, many in different roles are doing it in different ways, but it's still the same rules. If something is telling you you are less, you don't believe it. You say, no, I'm not. That's a practice. That comes across. There was a question a bit earlier about narcissistic abuse on Facebook, and how do I stop it? Well, stop believing it. Stop believing it. Stop believing their stories. Don't. That's your story, not mine. Believe yourself. Understand your story, and walk that walk, aligning to other things that cause harm. So the systems themselves, do they cause harm? Well, yeah, but it's to them over there. To them over there is causing harm. It's just because it's a long way away, it doesn't mean to say it's not. So we can't offset these things. We must see them and accept them and say that can't be maintained. The same as it wouldn't within. Do you lie? Do you tell lies? Do you cheat and do you steal? Well, not much. Okay, so you're a liar, a cheat, and a stealer then. It doesn't matter how much you do. The fact that you can means that you haven't developed the morality yet that's written above that. So fundamentally, and I'm trying to cover an awful lot of levels of consciousness inside of this rather than pinpointing higher or whatever. Fundamentally, it's re-evaluation and re-valuation, re-evaluating everything and then replacing the value system appropriately to it. Is it worth it for you? Is it negative? Is it positive? If it's negative, no. If it's positive, great. So we go through with a meticulous fine-tooth comb ourselves. And that's because we are worthy of that. But again, a little bit of a ramble.
Well, I appreciate this. It all resonates with me. Thank you very much. In what ways might you've answered a lot of it, but I will present the question because these questions are being answered in your paragraph. But in what ways might education systems, because people look at education and they look at how it's evolving to reflect and instill the values that you're bringing to the table of higher virtue and morality, which is in our new reality, shall we say. This instillness is embedded within each one of us. It's not, because people feel that it has to be something which is tangible, which is outside of yourself. Everything outside of yourself is a byproduct of what exactly is happening within yourself, because that's what you're projecting. So the greater you are in that stillness, and with these virtues, you're having an immediate impact, not needing to voice necessarily, like using loads of words, but a sense of calmness, a sense of stillness, the way your stance, the way your body language is, that does all the talking, doesn't it? Because people then start asking questions, brother. You know, that's what
People
kind
want
of,
things.
yeah, I mean, they want answers, brother. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
want real answers, but the real
See,
answers is with, yeah.
the thing about wants is they come from a place of lack. I want, it means I haven't got. Now, this is a materialistic, existential, demonic ideology: materialism, capitalism, functional wealth, functional extrinsic wealth. These are all based on wants. Now, as I've just said, wants come from a place of lack. I haven't got. And unfortunately, materialism has led to some sense of satisfaction and greed. As an extrapolation of these things, I need more, I need more, I need more. But this is the way that the Medea, that's deceitful sorceress, has been utilized to impregnate or integrate into the consciousness. So wants, there is no good want. There is no benefit in a want. End of. Unless that want can be satiated, satisfied by the individual. I want to drink a cup of tea. Now, of course, no harm, relatively. But if I want something else and it requires somebody else to do it for me and they refuse to, then I might get upset, angry, or disappointed in them. Now, that want is absolutely useless. I want things outside of my control. Well, that's pointless, isn't it? You're saying that you deserve it or you're entitled to it. So wants are pointless. Needs, in the truth of it, in the higher truth of it, albeit not experientially, the universe supplies everything you need. You are a divine being. There is nothing that you need outside of what you've got. So this idea of needs being something that, blah, 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 you got to go out and fetch, it's kind of akin to a want. And then you get to desires or desire. And the only one that I know of that's reasonable or virtuous inside there is that of wisdom. And wisdom is truth, internal, innate, intrinsic. So the more you experience, this is the beauty about wants. When you have a want, it creates experience. That's pretty much all it's going to give you is experience. And through that experience, you garner wisdom. So wants are very good at creating that which causes wisdom later. Generally, though, those wants are, it's a rocky path to get the wisdom. And if you understand the way frequency works, you get the wisdom anyway. You don't need to create the path will unfold for you. And if you relax into that rather than forcing yourself upon it, i.e. by doing things that the conscious mind is telling you must, or the slave drivers, the demonics used to tell us that we had to do, then you cause rocky paths. But if you relax, like you were just saying, brother, if you go into peace and you go into acceptance and knowing from the higher place that you have all that you need and everything that you want, everything that you need will arrive, then you don't need to follow those rocky paths. Now, experientially, we're in a place where this is being realized by some, if not many, and embodied and practiced. There's still complication thrown in there by the consciousness and by the inversions, the ripples, the minions of the dark. But the complication is it creates experience, and experience brings wisdom. So there's benevolence in all of it now. There's no negativity in any of this, it all moves forward, regardless of how it looks short term. So ones may say it's terrible. Yeah, but short term, it might feel that way. But over a period, it's much, much bigger. And this terrible becomes neutral. So we're in that place.
Yeah.
Oh, education.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Yeah.
Education is an awkward one because we're basing it on perspective right now of where we are, and that perspective is so wide. It's such a large range of consciousnesses that are trying to perspect what education means. Now, if we were sat in heaven and none of this had existed, or none of this existed, none of this previous experiences that we are currently coming out of, or the collective is currently coming out of, existed, what would we be talking about with regard to education? If we could sit and say that every soul is divine, they will learn whatever they need just by being. All we need to do is give guidance.
Yeah.
What would education look like? But in the existing system, with the existing levels of consciousness and perspectives, education looks very scholastic. It looks very school-like. It looks very indoctrinate. It looks very different to how it would look in the new world. So it was education in this form is speculation. Until we create the new environment, it really isn't worth trying to pinpoint what education is worthy outside of release of that which is less than virtuous. Now, that can be seen at many, many different levels. What is virtuous and what isn't. But I would suggest that 99% of humanity innately in their hearts know what is virtuous. And the complication comes from the deviations in the programming, in the negativity that is within the frequencies. Complication is where the devil lies, is where devil's in the detail. Complication likes detail. Divinity likes simplicity.
Yeah.
So detail causes experience, causes friction, causes wisdom in the end. And this is why I try to guide people. Let go of the detail. Keep expanding the overview, keep expanding the bigger picture. And you'll find the divinity in there. So it doesn't answer you, but it gives it a different perspective.
Well, I mean, you said some key, very profound stuff here. I mean, for me as well, personally, the key words like simplifying, because, in terms of desires, what desires are there as such out there? Because for me, at the stage that what I'm in at the moment, I don't have a need. It's a state of being, and how is it affecting the environment? That's what I'm paying attention. It's so you could
well, you're getting nothing from it. If you want nothing from the environment, then you're being symbiotic with it. All you're doing is sharing with it. You're not trying to take from it. Materialism and basically hell, demonics, they work on entice and temptation. They work on deception and fraud, and they entice through temptation the conscious mind of the individuals into lesser action. And they supply all of the trinkets, the shiny things, for ones to desire, to covet. Now, again, the idea of experience bringing about wisdom is true. So the problem is in the old world, in that hellscape, experience didn't bring about wisdom. It brought about continuous experience. The more wise that you became, the more pilloried you were into acceptance of the old, and the less than loss of that wisdom. So you couldn't remain, or very difficult to remain, in that frequency. They always try to drag you back. That's not where we are now. These ones, they don't. I'd like to say they are completely gone. There is no remnants left, minions left. There are still ripples of the old energetics that are playing out, like a pebble in a pool. The pebble isn't dropped, but the ripples are coming to an end. So we're at the end of the ripples. Some are more closer to the epicenter than others, but this is rippling out. And as we raise the frequency, it's neutralizing all of this until it's gone, until they do not There's no further existence to these frequencies. They cannot be experienced anymore, nor can they impact. And that's where we're going very shortly. In fact, yes, I'm not going to say when, because I just don't know. I just don't know. And I keep putting timelines in that don't quite play out yet. They are inevitable. It's just they haven't come to manifest reality yet.
Do you think it's imploding? Do you think it's collapsing into itself in some ways that, it may not be visible to the naked eye at times, but intuitively you can see it? But with your encompassing and navigating abilities, holding that space, do you feel that's having a phenomenally positive effect in how it's being neutralized and played out? Because this is, I don't want to sound, but I feel, greatness is a sense of knowing in how you're affecting the level of toxicity that's surrounding you. So firstly, are you energizing it? Because someone could say, I mean, there's been quite a few on social media lately. My son put one, he connected me, not that we panicked, but Putin's trying to start a third world war. And that's a big one, I couldn't.
It's absolutely laughable. People don't realize the divine is in command.
Yeah, I didn't know. You could sense that there is a lot of beings out there that could bite that bullet a little bit. I don't think so. But
there's not. It's media spin. There's if you took the 6 billion humans on the planet, and I'm not talking about the clones. They say there's 8 billion, but I'm going to take it down to about 6. We believe that there's 2 billion minions, clones, constructs, AIs, whatever people wish to call them. So reasonably, we've been given there's 6 billion souls upon the planet, fractals of God, sparks of the divine, creation, whatever. Again, so many different words for the same thing in different contexts. If you put those 6 billion together and said, how many of you want war? Or how many of you wish to kill off these people or kill off those people? What? The vast, if not all, would say, no, that's not what I want. No. If you put them in a tribe, if you put them in a hive mind and you threatened them, then they may be different. But if you give them all the honest option, if you sat them in a room and said, right, all of the pressure's off you, nobody's, whatever, just tell us your truth. What would you wish for? And I would suggest 99.99999% of those would not create war. So where's war come from? The ideology of war comes from media. Nobody knows about war except through media. That's the way it's delivered into the television, into your laptops, into wherever it comes through. Is media. Medea is a sorceress, was a sorceress. She uses fear. She's used by fear. She's the whore of the cabal to change your perception of reality, and you believe what media tells you. Okay. But if I sat you on your own out there and we chatted about it normally, you wouldn't believe any of this. Now, this is how powerful this spell, this mesmerizing ability of these occultists was. They could sway the whole collective by telling them what's going on through Medea. And very few of them would even talk to each other to actually work it out. And if they did, if you had a different opposing viewpoint, you would get mocked because of the other words that media told you to believe. So we're seeing all of this playing out right now, and the release of this concept of media. So yeah, there's this third world war. There's all these things that have been talked about yet. No. Nuclear weapons, they're going to do it. No. In fact, nobody's ever seen one. They've only seen them on media. Most of the things that most people believe have only ever been seen on media. They've not been seen in reality.
Even the Twin Towers, because the media, technologies that they might have had is the.
No, there was 3. Remember, there were 3 towers, not just 2. So if we're going to revert back to the Twin Towers, there was also building 7 that nobody knows about because everybody stopped paying attention when 2 fell down after 2 tin cans hit them. But there was a 3rd that fell, building 7, the federal building, 5 hours after the previous 2, that the BBC actually told us had fallen 20 minutes before it actually did. they described it on the BBC and said it fell, and it was in the background behind her, and then 20 minutes later it fell. They got their script wrong at the time. And yeah, so shown through media, look at this. The same as the moon landing was. And if you see that now, you don't have to look at it and think, wow, that's weird. I'm no surprised that NASA managed to lose all of its footage and all of its other things, because it doesn't actually age very well. And a lot of these things don't age very well when revisited. So they like to try to wipe these from the internet. Most of the information on the Twin Towers now has disappeared. The architects and engineers of the world, of America, a lot of their forums are down. All of this is gone. It's like, wipe that, continue. Because another generation has started now. So this becomes his story, his story. This was this, leave it in history, and we can't argue with it. We can't protest it. It's known to be true. It's not. It's lies. It's absolute lies, like the rest of his story. But yes, I didn't think we'd go off on this tangent, brother. I love it.
Can I invite that what we had earlier before we came into our recording studio, reference to that diagram? But before we go there,
oh no.
Regarding mandalas and things like that, I mean, I had a session with Rick about this as well. I mean, we're affecting the past. So are things being can restored is a good word? I don't know. So are things being restored as we speak in terms of how the past is being affected? Because Rick mentioned about words like phantom stuff. Do you feel that we're affecting
restoration? Restoration is a difficult one.
Right. Okay.
Because to restore something, you're going back to it. We're not. We're going to something completely new. So I don't disagree with the concept, and I used it quite a lot with our higher collaborations. And we couldn't utilize the words. We had to change the words. Rick said that we're rising to grace, and even that didn't sit well with me. Right. It's a return. So it's not a restoration, it's a return. We're not restoring what was, we are creating what will be.
That's very powerful. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah.
It's a different way, and I don't mean to pick it up on semantics, but whilst we're talking about these sort of levels, we need to make sure that we're not considering a rewind. I thought we were rewinding and going back to, we're not. This isn't about rewinding. It's about releasing that which is unnecessary and going forwards to that which will be. So we are creating the new. We're not restoring the old. Even though we're going to, in my concept, an area that would be reminiscent of the old energetically. But what it looks like will be brand new. But in the same, so it'll be the energetics of love, harmony, peace, love, harmony will be, but the creation will be, and the route that we're taking to it isn't restoration, it's renewal, it's regrowth, it's new creation. So we are literally entering a phase, well, we have been for quite a while, to be honest, of uncharted territory, taking a new path.
So this has never happened as far as this planetary evolution of Gaia, or whatever words, labels that people tend to use to describe this platform where we're kind of residing at the moment. In terms of
to our knowledge, to the best of our knowledge, with what we've got here in this density, this is a unique experience. Gaia, the planet and the souls on her, falling through dimensional space, having lost energetic, having lost frequency from, I don't know what dimension, but I'm assuming 14th-ish, down into the third dimensional aspect, which was quarantine hell. And then the rise back up through in physicality is something that we are informed, at least at this stage, is unique. So yes, this is I would say a large undertaking, but one that's very much enthused, enjoyed, and revered on the divine levels and higher levels. So yeah, it seems to be quite a large undertaking, because it's not just Gaia, it's also the galaxy as well. So it's the area around that's coming back up through. It's not just one part of it. There's a bit more to it.
Talk me with the reference to the word death, because when I connect with people, the death, because like when we go up higher, this so-called place, which is right at the bottom, the pit, is called death. In some minds, they feel that it's a place, it exists.
Yeah, but they feel that hell exists and it's below us. They feel a lot of things in these belief systems. Death. When you understand what it is that you are, death becomes like what? But when you don't, when you believe what the system has told you to believe, when you believe that you're only human, and that you're fragile and limited and a freak of nature, grown on an out rock, billions of miles from anywhere, and very, you've got one life and that's it, and you live it the best you can, and if you can't, then well, so be it. All of this is so barbaric and savage. One of the great ones that I can't remember the name of who said it. Somebody asked about death, and his reply was, "What makes you think you are that which dies?" And that would be my answer to most people. What makes you think you are that which dies? See, realistically, everything is energy, as many people know, but then they don't ascribe themselves to being energy. They think that they are organic or biological. Well, I know it all runs on energy, but we also should know that energy can't be dissipated. It just transmutes. It changes form. Now, we are energy and we change form. We are not that which dies. The physical, organic body inside creation, temporal reality is that which replenishes itself, changes. But this vessel is so much more than it was in those distorted realities. If you take an orange, let's say, and you put it into a stable environment, it would stay fresh for a long time. But if you put it into an acidic environment, it would rot very quickly. Well, welcome to the physical vessel. Same rules. These physical vessels were not designed to maintain themselves in this dimensional energy. They have a short period of time relatively because they're poisoned. This is full of toxins, especially from the mind. The physical vessel can last thousands of years in higher frequencies. And generally, the concept is that we choose the vessel and we choose when we want to leave it too. This isn't a case of temporally, all of a sudden you've got to fear death because you're going to drop down dead any second and you don't know when it will be, and you've been told that there's nothing after it and then that's it. And that's just not the case, man. That's just ridiculous. That's so limited in then allowing you to live and experience. You can't, because you can't trust anything because you might die. And these concepts are demonic. So death isn't a pit below us that you fall into. Your soul, your anima, your higher you just return back to what you truly are.
Thank you, brother. So with the transition that we're into this new reality, so we don't have a regard, or we don't need to restore the body at all. Because the way I'm feeling energetically is that, are we creating a new body?
Well, this is up for conjecture. Now, new body, yes. I mean, if you look at the old ways, the old body is recreated every, 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 3 or 4 every 7 years, dependent. All of the cells change, all of them. So effectively, we are in new bodies. Now, the concept is younger ones, or, can we do? Yeah, of course, yes. All of these things are true. Everything is available once we stop believing it's not. But this must be done collectively. So we must have a communal agreement, a unity. And once we agree that things can happen, then they will happen. But whilst we believe that they won't, they won't. Welcome to GPMS, and welcome to the freedom of the planet and all of these things. People don't believe that they are worthy of it. So therefore it doesn't happen because they're co-creators. And the majority currently are in levels of resistance to these higher truths. They won't protest their old ones, and they would rather worship their captors and their demonics, slave masters, and the systems that they've created than choose to change into a higher one at this stage. Now, that's a little bit harsh, but nevertheless experienced, currently going on in a lot of people, including the divine ones that are on the planet right now. And I'm not going to get into a poke of the collective consciousness at this phase in the conversation. So we are where we are, but it's being witnessed, and all of the resistance is witnessed on the higher levels, and it will be reconciled because each judges themselves by their actions as we go forward. So pointing out pointing out less than virtuous actions at this stage for once to reconcile them is kind of fruitless, because all they do is generate more negativity at you, which is okay. So work it out yourselves is where kind of a lot of us are at this stage. We'll give guidance and truth, but then do with it what you will. It's never about receiving. It's always about what you do with what you receive. And people really do not place value correctly. They misvalue that which is worthless and create worthless out of that which is valuable. So with a truth that is passed to another, if they don't value that truth, then they will make it worthless and then continue, So we are in that boat of just gifting, and people must understand that it's what you do with that gift. It's not thanking the other for receiving it. It's thanking yourself by acting upon it. And these are general rules of thumb.
Yeah, brother, I was going to say, how much time do we have? Because you've got.
Okay.
I was going to say, if we got enough time, can we go through that diagram? We can share with our viewers. As well.
We've got half an hour, so what would you like to do? The consciousness chart?
Please. That was so incredible. I'd seen it before, and I have to confess I didn't devote enough energy or time to it, and it's something that I'd like to look at again. And even in my own comfort zone, I will be looking at that. That was amazing what we looked at earlier. If we could share it with our viewers as well. If you just share this, and I'll click on that in a second. Add to stay. Here we are. Obviously, we need to zoom into that in a second.
Let me.
Do you want to
start?
So
this is based on. No. This is based on, I think it's Dawkins or Hawkins. And I will zoom in, brother. Inspector Clouseau. I will zoom it in. This is based on, I think it's Dawkins or Hawkins consciousness chart, and I find these very useful. When I didn't know as much as, when I wasn't as aware as much as I can see it now, then this I find very, very useful, just as pointers. And what we can start with is, let me just pull across here. When we talk to the fear spectrum, so what we've got down this side here is fear. And when we talk to, I've done that again, haven't I? Let's zoom in. So there we go. Down the side here is the fear spectrum. And then up here is the love spectrum. Now, in Dawkins' book, he would call it power and force. So power down here, fear, power, and up here would be force. There or thereabouts. Now, when we're looking at where we were, third dimensional places, or where humanity was, this is where the heavy densities were inside this fear spectrum in the third dimension. Since 2012, however, the fourth dimensional aspect has been opened, and the top of the fear spectrum here sits up here now. And when we move into the new human consciousness levels, which would be where fifth dimension starts, if you will, this is where negativity no longer exists. Okay, so new reality, negativity no longer exists. But what we've got to look at is these are bands, harmonic bandwidths. So if you exist, if you have shame, then you're only available maybe to get up to courage. So the height of where you can see would be here, because you're in a bandwidth. So this is the bandwidth. Now, as the shame rises, then your bandwidth rises. So as we lift up. So these are anchors in your energetics as we come down. Death at the bottom. Don't worry about death being in there. This is a feeling of zero. You can't be zero. So that doesn't matter. But where we are there, lower, done it again. Lower dimensional aspects. Can you see, are they all, can you see them okay from that? Or do you need your glasses, brother?
No, it's
Is that
clear.
zoomed in?
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Now, inside here as well, we've got frequencies. Now, these frequencies are relative to each individual's carrying those frequencies. And they also, I would look at them as the levels of access to higher information. A very important aspect to a lot of this is frequency is light. Light is information. Information is processed and gives more perspective. It gives you information. It gives you more enlightenment. Without the frequency rising, you can't carry the light. In these negative places, in these dark places, you haven't got the information to make reasonable perspectives. What you've got is small perspective, very much survival modes. And these are states of humiliation and blame, despair and regrets. This is what the mind conceptualizes. And this is how you feel inside of these environments. Anxiety, fear, all of these levels bring all of these. And then with desire, cravings and disappointments, anger, hatred, antagonistic outlooks, and even pride, scorn and demanding. So this is where one of the kickers and one of the largest keys that I ever realized in my own path was courage. And I think you called it daring a little bit earlier, but this is courage to accept. Courage above. Courage takes an immense amount of energy and difference because you're going against your own ego. All of the stories in your mind, all of the reasons why it's them, takes courage to go into neutrality and say, maybe it wasn't. And this is where the protest comes in. Courage and pride. You either choose pride and you fall into the lower ones, or you choose courage and you rise. This is with every option, every single thing that you do every day. You either choose courage to choose the higher path, or you take it from a place of self-righteousness and choose the lower path. The lower path will always take you down through anger, normally with desires as at your heart of it, and reasons and excuses as to why you did it, all based on blame or despair, which play themselves out with reasons through pride in an attempt to prove to yourself that what you're doing was justified. Yet, if it was pride-based, it can never be justified. If it comes with any sense of despair, regret, or blame for another, it can never be justified. Yet, you will attempt to justify it through reason, through logic, through all sorts of different things. You will manipulate the reality as is to try to fit your story. And this is all fear-based. This is hell. This is what the demonics love for you to do as a creator of reality, is to create their fear-based environments. And that was what it was experienced. With courage comes neutrality. Neutrality allows for some trust. Now, what we've got is a little bit of a different way of outlook. We are now into appreciation. Where are we? Courage. Yeah, affirmations. So we're not going to tell others that they're idiots, that they're wrong. We're not going to scorn and mock them. We're not demanding things from the outside anymore because we're not using pride. If you find that you are scorning, laughing at another, saying you're wrong, I'm right, then where does that come from if it's not pride? And pride comes before a fall. All of these are true, relatively. You know, for anybody, take what it is that I say, and if it doesn't resonate, let it go. If it does, gravy. So pride comes before a fall, and it affects with scorn and demanding. When you have the courage of acceptance, you can go into neutrality. And up here, we've got willingness, and all of these harmonious, hopeful, and all of these come with a sense of purpose, happiness, and productivity. All of these are in the zone and the flow. You've gone above the suffering because you've gone through courage into these. And this would be classed as the fourth dimension. We've been in the fourth dimension since 2012. Many people are still in these areas of experience. That's self-imposed. We are not in that dimension, but they feel that they are. They're acting with the same energies that do not represent them here anymore. We are not in that dimension. We are in this. Yet those are the ones being experienced. And this is the ripples. Yeah. We notice here, fear stops at this point, and this takes courage to go into willingness and acceptance. And then we get to the fifth dimension. Now, once you reach this point, you can never descend back into these old ones. It's impossible, which is where I said we are now in a new reality. Negativity does not exist here. No, above the level of 400 in frequency, or maybe even 250, these do not exist. These sounds, these frequencies are no longer available. Currently they are for the ones that are carrying them, and that's divinely being harmonized at this time. So then we get into a place of wisdom, inner wisdom and inner love, the reverence and the benign. We are lifting. Oops, done it again. We are lifting into the higher being, the non-duality, the awareness. We can take these up into different dimensions. These are all inside each one of you. These aren't places to go to. These are places to experience individually. All of these frequency dimensions are within. How many of them do you wish to use? And that is an individual choice. If you chose through self-righteousness, through anger and all of these things, then you are choosing to experience this dimension because it is within you. All of these are within you. But you can't access these if you are playing in these. And this is the point about where do you hold yourself? What frequency do you hold? What moral obligation do you value? How much do you value your own truth? How much can you honor the divine that you are in the situations that you face? How much temptation can drag you back down into these areas, knowing that you are losing access to these? How much value do you place up here, knowing that it will take away your material experience, but it will garner your higher value? You will become worthy. You will garner yourself. You will have integrity, honor, and virtue, and you will honor them above anything else. You will never be able to be tempted again by the dark ones. How much value do you place in that compared to the value they've told you to place in the shiny things outside of you? And this is a pathway that you can choose to have a look at with these imageries and with these notions and concepts. The words upon there, each will have experienced in their own ways. Many can disagree with the way it's outlined and the way it's, but they can't disagree if they're actually true to themselves as to what each of those words represent in their own experiences. Everybody knows, and I know certainly that pride and anger lead to a fall. I never suffered. That was a word I used to use. I suffered, endured that which was intolerable. That's all suffering means, in apathy and guilt for years. I was hopeless. I was tragic. I was blaming everybody else whilst keeping a brave face on things, always feeling that I could drop back down again, but always trying not to. And that's the system. That's what they did. That's what they imposed upon humanity. I took the choice to experiment with that and accept and go into different areas at the expense of my old self. This is what I believed myself to be. I thought I was all of these. My daughter said, "Dad, I thought you were just the Hulk." Yeah, exploding all the time with anger, hidden inside. And that was what the system I'd embodied out of that system. And when I actually embodied love, when I went to a different place, when I put light in the place of dark, I found that that was much more valuable, and that created a different world, a different outlook, a different perspective. When one's realized that non-duality is much more aligned to polarity, polarity is the way. Why do we need darkness to experience the light? Why do we need hatred to experience love? Why do we need depression to experience joy? This is all fundamentally flawed. You move up and you move up and you move up into grace. And grace is a beautiful place to be, because nothing can touch you. Everything is graceful as opposed to disgraceful. And these are experiences that each will have had in glimpses and in snippets, but generally they bounce up and down inside these frequencies. And these are self-chosen. As soon as you act upon the stories, the frequency that's created, the emotion, then you are creating it. Now, did it come from anybody else? No, it came from within, but now you're going to impose it or create it onto the outside world, into reality as manifest. The Dark Ones and Medea know this, so they fill you full of these stories, so that you act upon them, therefore energizing them and creating the dark narratives for the ones who wish to cause harm. A lot of this is very simple, but not easy in reality to deal with on a daily basis. Nevertheless, it doesn't remove the truth of them. And the truths are self-evident if you wish to look. Now, that's probably a little bit of a 10-minute, I don't know, missive on those, brother. Is there anything you would like to ask on that, my friend? We can look into it further, or did that cover?
Well, that was absolutely, it was clarity at its best for me personally. That was awesome, brother. Really, really appreciate this. Yeah, no, that's
it's available to anybody, this chart. I find it useful.
Yeah. So you're saying Dawkins. So if people just Google into,
I'll just check that quickly. I can send that down. Dawkins.
I want to make this more available for people to appreciate.
Could be Hawkins, actually. I can't remember.
Hawkins.
It's Hawkins. Hawkins map of consciousness.
Oh, my pen's
but I'll send it you, my friend.
Thank you.
Hang on. As well, if you wish to share it. Where are you?
Yeah.
Barrett. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. We've just lost lights.
Brother, well, we can close our.
I think I've lost.
Still got power, but got internet. Are you on your?
It's on my thumb now, but it's still StreamYard.
Yeah, we're still here. We're still here.
Can
you see me, brother? I can see you. Hello.
You still there?
Yes, I'm here.
I've got no speakers. That's why I can't hear you. The lights.
Right.
That one is. Oh, that's my laptop.
It's been absolutely awesome. Thank you very much for all that you do, and we'll catch up. We'll catch up again very, very soon, brother.
Are we good, mate? Okay. I apologize. I'm glad I didn't. So I know I'm not in the mode to come out cursing and swearing. I didn't realize in the background, because the speakers are plugged in, but they're powered. So when the lights went off, I'd lost sound. No. Cool. I'll send you the consciousness chart, brother.
Thank you so much, brother. Yeah, absolutely.
You can share that with whoever you wish. And I don't know whether we got in this beautiful. I love spending time with you, my friend, and the way your energy. So I appreciate it greatly. So thank you so much. And I think we got out some of what we were desiring to, or wishing to, let's say, not desire.
Yes. Much love, and see you soon, brother.
Much gratitude, brother.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to.
I was gonna say that the Hawkins map.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and